So here is Eton in a little play session that we did, and I'm playing with the Spanish walk that he has learned. Now I start this by teaching them on a pedestal, like I had done with Y. It's kind of the same cues, and then you can kind of bridge that gap. So Eton has done really well. I started off by teaching him to touch with my hand, and then I've linked the cue to my leg now. So it's been really fun. So the next day, I took both Eton and Y to the obstacle challenge that was at North Atlanta Equestrian. So it was good for Eton to have experience with more than just 4 people. So you could see he was a little nervous in the beginning, especially with a lot of people walking behind him. But again, he's got a little fledge next to him. You can see his tail swishing, but he's starting to figure it out, get some lick and chews. We hung out here for a good amount of time, and Y isn't really bothered by all this. He's already gone. So this is Eton's first time. But you can see he finally started to eat grass, which is a really big deal for him. So that was really good. So we went in to do the little obstacle challenge. I wasn't expecting much because I ended up getting here a little later, so we weren't able to practice over the obstacles like how you can sometimes. So he has to go in here. He's seeing them for the very first time. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to come, step on the tarp, and side pass over the pole, but that wasn't happening, so I had to break it down into some steps. So first he has to know it's okay, he can walk over it. And then I'm just going to go to a little section so I can see if I can get him to side pass, and he does, so then I can build up the confidence. And so then we moved on to the next obstacle, which is cowboy curtain going up the bank. So he has experience with this at home, but again, it's different. It's got 2 different colors, but he does a good job to trust me here. And he's still worried. You know, he tries to get a quick, but he does know to kind of stick with me still. So I'm happy with that. And this bridge is actually metal, so it makes a really loud sound. So they've made it even tougher with the kind of a banner on the side of it. So I'm going to show him I can walk him over this. Now, he has walked over this in the past, just as a just plain metal bridge without the banners on it. So I was really happy with that. And then we trotted through the flowered cones. He did that pretty well. And then we were heading towards this is a backup chute, which is really, really difficult because they were supposed to back up in the L shape and put their bum on the plastic bags. So this is like Eton's nightmare, backing up to something that's flapping. So I break it down for him. I walk him in it so he can see the plastic bags, which he's fine about. And then I wanted to just see if I could get him to back up just a little. That was good. He still gets a little worried. And then I'm going to bring him in practice just backing up and doing the turn. Because again, this is a really difficult maneuver, especially for a horse that has some insecurity still. So I was pretty happy with that. And then we headed to the pedestal, which he's had a lot of practice with the pedestal, but he's still pretty focused on the plastic bag still. That's behind him. So I have to get him to focus on the pedestal. So what I do is I ask him to give me his leg for the Spanish walk because it's kind of, he likes that. So it's just redirecting his focus a little bit. And then I'm able to get him to step up on the pedestal. And again, I wasn't expecting much. I just wanted him to kind of go through the motions and learn to experience things. Yeah, I wasn't perfect or expect him to do it perfect. So just was working on to get the best try and the focus I could get him to do. And so this is quite a narrow bridge. And at the end, he actually puts all 4 feet on. So moving right along to, of course, the judge walking behind him is scary, but that's okay. He's learning how to deal with that. So this next obstacle is the umbrella lane. So you had to walk through the lane and pick up an umbrella. So I took him to the umbrellas on the side first before I tried to go through it. And then just try to reassure him again. Use a little bit of pressure from my stick. Because again, he's having to deal with umbrellas on both sides. And I'm just going to have to give him a second here. There, he gives me a lick and chew. A little pressure and release on the halter. And then I try to help him out a little bit. And you can see when he gets nervous, he just feels like he needs to go through it. So part of the obstacle, again, was to pick up an umbrella. So I knew it was going to be too much pressure for me to do that with him in between the umbrellas. But he handled it quite okay outside of it. Still really pleased with how he's handled it. And it's a lot for him. And now we have to head to the fan that has blowing things on it. And actually, he seemed not too upset about this obstacle, which I think would get some horses. But again, he's starting to understand he can go through it. So we pick up a little trot just to help him to think a little forward. And now we're supposed to pick up the scarecrow and touch it to our horse. So first I'm going to introduce it to him. This is just like how I would do a saddle pad. So let it touch him. He got a little nervous, but overall he handled himself pretty well. And not too bad. I was just really happy he stayed with me the whole time. So afterwards there was a break and I could take him back in and practice some of the obstacles again. And so here where I was able to get him to work on the side pass a little better. And you can see he's already much more relaxed. He just needed a little bit more practice time with some of the obstacles. And just working on getting him to relax, dropping his head, getting some lick and chews. So I asked him to kind of stop in between in the middle of the umbrellas and he got a little nervous. And I'm going to work on picking up an umbrella. Still not sure about it. He doesn't like anything that kind of goes above his head, but that's okay. There, he's doing really good at trying to do the touch. So I've also taught him on the word of touch to use his nose and neck to reach out, because that can really help build the confidence. And we just keep going back and forth. He gets pretty nervous right there when I ask him to stop, so I'm going to now break it up and ask him to back out. And then see if I can get him to come back forward. And there I got a nice lick and chew. Pick up the other umbrella. And he did that really well. Still a little nervous, but all things considered, he's doing pretty good. So I just ask him to back and then ask him to come forward. Now the fan's not blowing this anymore because it actually ate one of the caution tapes. But it was really good because I was able to ask him to touch the fan, and then the wind picked up and kind of blew the caution tape, but he knows how to handle that from our practice at home. And he's doing that really well. He's really happy. Again, it didn't take much for him to get a little bit more relaxed. Kind of the second time he was able to see the obstacles. And that time he walked through there really nice. And then for our last time, he does that much better. So I also took the opportunity to use the round pen while I was here. And now I'm going to practice getting on and off. Making sure I can get both sides. And I'm so happy with how good he is about the right and the left side about me getting on and off. Really good. And then graduating to working in the round pen. So I found he does a lot better if I just use the stick, because I've done a lot of use with the stick from the ground. So he understands when the stick is on his shoulder, when it's also tapping him on his rib cage to ask for the trot. And then it helps me steer a little bit. So just having the whip help me kind of bridge the gap with my leg aids and my body aid. And then asking for the stop, which was really, really good. And give him a second and a lot of pats. So now changing direction. And that was decent because I was able to use my leg pressure. And he's surprisingly really good about me changing the whip to the other hand. Sometimes horses can get spooked about that. So now I'm going to help him go this way. He always is a little concerned about the videographer in this corner, so he likes to kind of make the round pin even smaller. But that's okay. This is just our second ride. And again, just playing around with how I can get the least amount of pressure in response. So I have to be careful because he's taking a little bit of, when I go to block the shoulder a little bit to keep him from dropping in, he sees that as a stop. And that's just from a little bit of miscommunication. So right here I'm having to work on so I can control that shoulder a little bit to help me get a little closer. And then that was a little bit better. Just working it out. And that time was even better. So then I was able to ask for the stop just with my body and give him a good rub. And I got a nice lick and chew at the end. And then I go to finish up just nice and relaxed, working on our walk and our stop, and then changing direction. I like to finish after I've trotted them around. I really like them to walk a little bit more, see if I can get that head nice and level, and do a bunch of the slow work. And I'm really happy with how he's responding. Again, I'm very, very happy with Eton and how far he's come.
Look at that! You learned it!
And Y also came and did the obstacle challenge, but unfortunately I wasn't able to video it. But then he was really great for his second ride and got to go over some of the bridges, and it was a really fun day with both the boys. And here they are. I decided I could wash them both off, which They were both very good. The ground tied pretty well for me while I washed off each of the other. Then I let them get a little drink out of the hose, which they seemed to really enjoy.